Hello everybody, how is it going? Welcome to another video of tutorial series learning about web and application security. In previous videos, we learned about the introduction to MySQL injection, and in the last video, we came to know how the SQL injection were done by passing these kinds of text to our input fields to manipulate the SQL queries. And today we'll be covering the topic on how to get rid of MySQL injection and how can we write the statements or perform our application level coding so that such SQL injections are bypassed. Okay, so in every programming language there is a process that we call as prepared query or prepared statements. So one of the best ways of getting rid of SQL injection is prepared query or prepared injection. So in prepared query or prepared injection, what generally happens is, I've already written the code for that just to save the time. So previously we wrote this much of PHP code in order to select the entry from the users table from our users table. So let me just go quickly to our table. So we had created a database called injection, and there we had a table called users with fields ID, full name, username and password. So we wrote a small script for login where we connected to our database. We grabbed our username and password from the form. We wrote a query, select all from users, where username is equal to username and password is equal to this password. We executed the query and we fetched the data and we just dumped the row or the entire row. No security measures were used in the last video, so we were easily able to inject our manipulated entries through the form, and SQL injection was done successfully. But today we'll be using prepared statements or prepared query in order to get rid from MySQL injection. And for that I have created another file as submit2.php, and today instead of submitting our form to submit.php, we'll be submitting to submit2.php in order to check if we can still inject our let's say scripts or inject our manipulated text to manipulate the final SQL. So here, instead of writing the direct SQL query, we'll be doing few things. We'll be using a prepared statement. So in prepared statement, what generally happens is we don't pass the values that we get from the form or get from the URL or get from anything. So if you generally see, there are two ways of passing values from or taking values from users and send it to our server side. The first one is the form, where user can easily type in values, so they can type anything over there. And second is through the query string. So we generally must have seen the URL like question mark ID equals to 1 and name equals to something. So this is also a way of passing values from one page to another page, and generally what we do is we grab these values using $get, $post, $request in PHP. So in our case we have a form called form for login, where we can type in our username and type in our password, and once we hit login we use $post to grab those values. So in prepared statement, we don't directly pass these values to the SQL query, rather we bind these values to our SQL query. So in prepared statement, what generally happens is the compilation of this SQL query is done before executing it. So while compiling we just send out this symbol of question mark. So what generally this query is saying that before passing the value, let's compile the structure of the SQL. So this compiles the SQL structure just to check if the SQL is valid or not, and later on during the execution we pass the values, so users are not able to manipulate the SQL query during the process of compiling. But in the previous case, we had passed the values of username and password directly into the query during the time of compilation, so users were easily able to manipulate the SQL query. So what we have done, we have used prepared statement and passed these symbols. Like, there are many ways of performing prepared statement, and this is one of the easiest way. So I've just written username equals to question mark and password equals to question mark. So now during the time of execution we need to bind these variables username and password to this query. So what I have done is just go through the code snippet quickly. First of all, I've connected, this time I'm using PDO class for database handling. So new PDO, I provide my database name, my host name is localhost, username is root, password is MySQL. I've grabbed the username and password. I've created a prepared statement without passing the value, just using the question mark. Select all from users where username equals to question mark and password equals question mark, and I'm using this link in order to call the function prepare, because prepare is a method of this class, PDO class. So I'm using this object in order to call the function, and the result of this function, I've returned its result to a variable called compile, and I'm using that compile to execute this query by passing the username and password. And this execute function will firstly, the first step of this execute function will be binding these two values that I'm sending in array. The first index of the array is username, so it automatically gets bind to the first question mark, and the second parameter, second value of the array is password, so it automatically gets bind to the second question mark over here. So during the execution, after binding the username and password, only in the execution process we send this username and password to this SQL statement, and finally our SQL is executed without any let's say problem of SQL injection, without any issues of SQL injection. So no SQL injection will be able to break this prepared statement by manipulating the value. So after we have executed, now we are fetching the values from the database and just dumping it. Now let's check to see if it works or not. So if we go here, type in our username admin, let's type in incorrect username and password. It is the same form that we worked last time. If I hit submit, since the username and password is incorrect, it gives us nothing. Why don't we just it's okay. Now let us type in correct username and password, and one of our correct username and password was admin and admin pass. So if I hit login now it is giving me the result, which says ID is 1 and full name is admin and username is admin and password is admin pass, right? So everything works fine, and since we are using PDO, it is giving us in both associative array format, which says ID is 1. At the same time, it is also giving us the array in numeric format, which is saying in the 0th index we have 1. Similarly, full name is admin, and the first index we have admin, and username is admin, and we have index 2 also has admin. So we can use it either way. We can use it in a numeric array format or in let's say associative array format. It's all up to us. So this is how we did. Now let us try to let us try to inject our value like we did last time, which was admin or a equals to a. This is what we did last time in our previous video, to inject our value or to manipulate the SQL query. Let us try to do this and see if we will still be able to get the entire entry from the database. And we can see it is giving us blank, which means we are able to handle or control SQL injection in our website just by writing few extra lines of code for prepared statement. and everything is done. I hope you liked the video, and I hope it was useful. So if you work in a core PHP without using any, most of the frameworks already use these prepared statement, and they are already free from SQL injection. But if you are still working on core PHP and you want to write some methods, or even in Java or even in other programming languages, you can start using prepared statement. And prepared statement is available for all the let's say database scripts like MySQL or MS SQL or Oracle or anything that you use. There is a way of writing prepared statement for everything. So I hope you like the video, and this will be useful for you in upcoming days while writing SQL statements. If you like the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and please share the video to share the knowledge. Thank you. I'll see you guys again with another video.